I always wanted to try something new when it comes to this idea of coconut yogurt. And I've always, not always, but I've seen videos about uh, coconut yogurt and the possibility of it, especially with coconut kefir. And since I am vegan and what I do is dairy free, um, I had an opportunity to encounter some organic coconut yogurt. And I was like, hey, this looks pretty good. I had to read the label, of course, just to make sure that there wasn't anything in there additional. Um, so this one, I like the way it's packaged. It has this nice aluminum seal on the top, and it's a good volume of yogurt. And I also got this thing called mush. Mush. It looks promising, right? Because I like chocolate. So organic, non-processed chocolate. Not the type that's gone through an alkali process, but just straight up cocoa, right? Or cacao. And so I was like, okay, because I wasn't going to take the yogurt by itself. And then I have this. I, they now started putting out this unsalted pistachios, right? From the Wonderful brand, which is my favorite brand. And then I had some leftover organic coconut dusted medules. And so I said, okay, this will be a good time to mix various ingredients together with this organic uh, coconut yogurt and see how it transpires. And I have a couple of things that I use, and so the cachava and the cacao powder I typically mix with coconut water. And the cachava in particular adds an extra dose of protein, which I don't really need because I get it from an abundance of beans these days. But you never know when you're going to go on a fast, and having some cachava around is a good idea. And so one of the things I wanted to do was take my basically some of my leftover um, pieces of these medules and then the pistachios, and I wanted to mix them together, right? And so that's what the objective is here. And I was like, okay, I could piece all this together, and what that will do is create not only texture in the yogurt, but the medules in particular, the dates, these medjool dates, is going to sweeten it because the yogurt does have tapioca starch in this particular yogurt mixture. The tapioca starch adds natural sugars, but I didn't want to leave it a chance. I didn't taste the yogurt ahead of time, and this is my first time trying this yogurt out. And so, what I wanted to do was um, have an insurance policy when it came to the flavor, right? And I have this mush over there, which is probably going to have its own flavor. I haven't tried it before either. So, half of what I'm doing here is things that I've not done before, but I'm experimenting. And so I just want to chop up these dates in as small a portion as I can. And you know what would really have streamlined this process is if I had um, uh, bit the bullet, and decided to blend these in a blender, right? That probably would have made this a much more efficient process. But I noticed that when I don't use a blender and I do things the manual way, I learn a lot more about the individual elements. So when a time does come when I decide to blend them, then I have much better insight into what goes together and in what quantities. Because I don't read recipe books and I don't do any of that, right? And there's nothing wrong with recipe books per se. It's just that sometimes you want to follow your intuition when it comes to certain um, culinary choices and flavors and textures and treatments on what you're going to consume. And so that's pretty much what I'm doing here is getting these together. And the thing about it is, um, some things do taste better when you eat them whole, but there are many things that digest better when they are in smaller bits. And that's something that I've learned over time is that smaller bits generally benefit you when it comes to eating. And of course, you can chew your food and you can do all of that, but when the majority of the base is going to be a somewhat liquefied and highly viscous um, solution, then that can become a little contentious. And it's like when you are making lentil soup and you cook the lentils down to a creamy texture, just an overall cream, and it's still the lentils, but it is far more easy for your body to digest it. And so I'm going to take these pistachios and I'm going to chop them down. And I would have actually liked to gotten these dates down a little bit more, but it's fine the way they are. And so with the pistachios, I want to chop them up just a little bit, right? Because I'm going to essentially mix all of these together. Now, the idea behind many of these ingredients is their health contribution to the body. And so when we think about pistachios have a very good dose of potassium, magnesium, calcium, and other elements. I like to call pistachios electrolytes in physical form or electrolytes in solid form. They almost are like a solid version of electrolytes. And you're not going to replenish your electrolytes with pistachios to the same extent you would with liquid coconut water, but pistachios can help, balance out electrolytes throughout the day. And so that's one of the reasons why they factor here. And this isn't my first time tasting the unsalted pistachios. And what I can say is that um, the unsalted pistachios to me actually taste far better than the lightly salted or regular salted pistachios from the same brand. And as you grow in your health journey, if you are one that grew up like myself on processed foods and heavy grease and oil and that sort of thing, right? Well, once you go down the holistic health path in terms of diet, because you can be into a very healthy diet and not be into the other practices like physical practices, spiritual practices, mental practices, etc., right? So we'll just keep the focus on food here. But the the thing about your holistic diet journey is that your taste buds change, especially if you, like me, grew up on grease, fat, and sugar, right? And a lot of sweet drinks, a lot of French fries. And so, and I still have an affinity for some of those things. And I have recently gone back to consuming some of those things in very small doses, in very controlled way. But your taste buds change. And certain things that you can only tolerate with a liberal dose, or maybe more than a liberal dose, of salt and or sugar, you now get to the point where you enjoy them more without so much without salt, without sugar, or as much of it. And that is a good accomplishment. It's a very good accomplishment. It's accomplishment in that it allows you more flexibility, a lot more flexibility in what you eat and how you eat. Because now you don't you don't have to demand that you have food in exactly a certain way, as in it has to be greasy, it has to be deep fried, it has to be cooked, and it has to have salt and, in some cases, sugar and oil in great abundance. And that's how my taste buds were for the longest time. And about four, maybe 5 years ago, that all started to change. And the last 3 years, I've been on a good track. So I got the pistachios ground down, manually ground down to a good level, because when I mix this all in, what my goal is I want to be able to scoop up some of the yogurt and I want to taste a variety of things at the same time, right? And so, uh, that's what I intend. That's my intention. But you got to be careful because some of these ingredients will soften. They will soften in a liquid solution. And so it's like, okay, you will have some texture, but it may not be the same if you let it sit, which I'm going to allow this yogurt to sit. But if you let it sit, um, when you actually do consume it, many of the ingredients can be quite soft. And it's like, okay, I still can taste some things, but it's not the same as if you just mix this up and then you just eat it right away. It's a different experience. And although I haven't had this concoction before, just knowing how I've done this with other types of things, especially dates, because I have soaked dates in coconut water before, and just to see what will happen, and left it in the refrigerator, right? So refrigerate it in a bag of coconut water and some cocoa powder, and the dates would soften. These dates that have this very firm, moderately firm texture when you eat them in their regular way, when you have soaked them for that long, they it's completely different when you have soaked them and they're soft. Now, they're not bad soft. It's like if you soak them the right way with, like I said, in this case, coconut water with cocoa powder, um, it's wonderful actually. It's a type of candy in a way. So, let's just say what it is. Dates is the vegan health person's candy. And you'll see you'll see many vegan snacks that have dates in them. So dates is the vegan world's candy. Um, and you almost want to say you have to be careful with that, but you don't, because dates are so natural. If you get them organic and non-GMO, they're so natural that they don't. Uh, and this is not health information. None of this in this video takes the place of consulting your physician or nutritionist and all of that. Anecdotally, um, dates do not um, negatively impact um, blood sugars. Um, I mean, all sugar-based ingredients are going to have some impact, but it's the type of sugar, it's the shape and geometry of the molecules that's important. It is the geometry of the molecules and the arrangement of these sugars that determine how they interact with your body. And the form of that sugar in dates, natural, organic, pure dates, they don't hit you like that. So I'm now clumping the dates and the pistachios together. I kind of want them to just blend together, very kind of like a caramel nougat, if you might. Um, And so I just want, I don't want the elements to float so much. I want them to kind of clump together so that when I scoop up the yogurt, even after it's sat for a while, I want everything to kind of coalesce together so that when I scoop it up, that, I got a nice chunk and it all just tastes great together. My original idea in my brain when I was going on this journey with this was blueberries in yogurt because you typically see those two combined together. But I was like, I did have that option, but I said this would be a great opportunity to do something with chocolate because I've had yogurt before in my non-vegan days. I've had it before, and so I'm also going to add just a little bit of coconut water, just because the coconut water has some natural sugars in it. So I'm trying to amp up the sugar profile just a bit, but do it naturally. But I'm also not familiar with how the yogurt is going to um, come together. But I had yogurt in my non-vegan days, and blueberry and yogurt was a good combo. But I never had chocolate in yogurt. Okay, I take that back. I had TCBY. I don't even know if they're still in business. Back in um, not elementary school, but middle school, TCBY came on a campus. They were invited by the education department. Um, they were allowed as a vendor to come in and introduce students to TCBY, the country's best yogurt. I believe that's what it stood for. Anyway, and I love that chocolate yogurt or whatever it was. It was great. And so, yeah. So I really had a great experience with TCBY, and but I really didn't get that frequent of an access to that type of product as an adult. But but I liked it. But primarily, I had experiences with strawberries and yogurt, blueberries and yogurt, and the like. But here I said, you know what? This is my yogurt, and I'm going to formulate it in the way that I really want. But now that I'm doing this, I realize that maybe subconsciously, I just always had that lingering for TCBY. Maybe there was something in TCBY. I was a young kid, and maybe there was something in there. It was like your first encounter with Anyway, so it was like, and then I got this cachava, right? So this cachava, in addition to having protein, and that's not really the main reason I get it. Well, that's part of it, but I also get it because it has like these probiotics and it has all these other factors, and I believe it's the number one. It's the official nutrition shake of the USA Triathlon. So if you're going to be a long distance runner and all of that good stuff, Kachava is what's recommended. It's also what I'm now. Here's the thing. There is one ingredient in Kachava, and most of the protein powders out here like this that I don't like. And that one ingredient is called natural flavors. Nobody knows what natural flavors is, and I usually don't trust anything that has that on the label. But I looked the other way with this cachava, and so um, because you can't always get what you want in a perfect form, especially if you're trying to get it at a low price. And this particular bag cachava was on sale for half price. So I was like, okay, let me jump on that. Got my little milk frother here. And what I'm gonna do with the milk frother is that's gonna help like um, you know, blend things together. At least that's the plan. Blend things together in a very fine way. This frother, it did break recently, but I repaired it. I took it apart and I fixed it. Um, so anyway, so this is what the yogurt looks like, man. Check that out. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? Man, that's some thick looking stuff right there. Smells interesting too. Yep, yep, yep. So this is my standard flask, and I'm going to pour some of this yogurt in here. Or at least I'm going to try to. So that's not working. Need a spoon. So let's spoon it in there because what I want to do is I want to blend this in stages because I am experienced enough with trying to use this frother, right? Because I'm not using a blender. I'm experienced enough with this frother to know that it doesn't always go according to plan. And if anybody's used a frother, you know that if you have the mixing cup filled too high, then you're gonna, even though the frother is stirring things up properly, you're still gonna have some of the liquid um, peel out and 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 spread on other things, right? And so you just want to use the frother in a very calculated, very measured way. And so, and this yogurt is thicker than I realized. And this mush looks great. It has oats in it, and I've kind of gotten over my aversion to grains because I was avoiding grains for about a year, maybe a little bit longer than that. Because in certain Eastern spiritual practices, it's like you want to leave grains alone. And certain health studies have shown that, if you are trying to recover from certain things, that grains may not help that situation. So I've only gotten back to grains in a little while. Um, I've eaten grains. I haven't banned them all together over the last 3 years, but my dosage of grains was very minimal, very, very minimal. But I've ramped it back up in the last few months. And so I got my little mixture of pistachios and dates, and I just want to mix this together because I want to get a nice, I want it all to just kind of combine together very well. And like I said, a blender might be, no, not might, a blender would be a more efficient way to do this. But by doing it this way, I learn a lot about how all of these elements come together. And it also shows me what is the right um, proportion of elements for future reference. Because I'm not just doing yogurt for yogurt's sake. I have some long-term plans with yogurt. There's this I don't know if it's called an enzyme. It might be an enzyme. It's called L-Reuteri. L-Reuteri. And my plan is to get me some L-Reuteri at some point because I have it on good authority. Dr. Eric Berg, PC, and a gentleman that he interviewed um, that did a long-term research on L-Reuteri found that if you have it cultured in yogurt at the right level, then for people that are over the age of 50, it can actually improve muscle and other factors in the body. So it's like, that's cool. And, so it's like, I need to build up my expertise in making yogurt concoctions so that, because that's how I do health with food is um, I don't treat it like medicine in the traditional sense where, okay, I got to eat this thing. Rarely do I do that. In some severe cases, I might do that. But most time I like, okay, I know this is healthy and I want it to taste good at the same time. And, I try to integrate it. I try to integrate health so much into my lifestyle and into my life that it's on autopilot. That's how I like to do things. That's my philosophy. That's my mindset. I want to I want to always try to get to the point where I do the right things on autopilot. And sometimes that means that, okay, whatever I'm currently doing on autopilot, I need to disturb that. I need to shake that and recalibrate so that I can now rebuild my autopilot. Because if you can do the right things on autopilot, then when you're doing things like research and studying and building for a career or whatever, um, making videos, etc., then you can focus on those things and not have to put so much energy into, okay, what do I need to do for health today? Right? It's the same way with clothes, where, most of the time, if you see me, it looks like I'm wearing the same thing all the time. But actually, I took a page from the Silicon Valley tech folk, like Steve Jobs and others, where it's like, hey, man, hey, I got like 8 pairs of black pants. And every day you see me, most days I'm wearing black pants. And you're like, man, does he ever wash those pair of pants? Why, yes, it's just that these black pants look like the same as the one I wore yesterday because I rotate through them daily, so they all get washed the same time, and it's like, okay, they're all faded the same way at the same, because I bought them all at the same time. They're all faded at the same time, and so so no pair of black pants looks newer than the other. And so, and then what that does is, okay, um, you just pick, go in the closet, pick a pair of pants. You don't actually have to think about it, and it makes getting dressed faster. Makes getting dressed faster, and it's like, okay, I only got a limited set of shirts, and I got 14 of them, and all I have to do is just rotate through them, and you might think that I wear red shirt on Tuesdays. But it's just that, that's it's time for the rotation, right? Especially if you keep them like hung up in the same order. Anyway, that was a very good tangent. But so I got the yogurt mixed up. So I decided to do it in two different batches, right? And then I recombine it all back into the same yogurt container. And I'm gonna taste a little bit of it, and you know, let's see what we got going on here. Just mix a little bit there, and you can see based on the spoon that there's quite a bit of material on there. On the bottom of the spoon. That yogurt has a good consistency to it. So, you know, when I do this again, I'm actually going to put the yogurt into separate cups. Separate cups. It's just that I kind of planned for this, but I didn't plan all the way. So, and I really didn't anticipate how much yogurt I'm dealing with here. How much, see, when you add these additional ingredients, you're actually increasing the volume of material. And so it's like, okay, next time, let's just have more cups involved for storage. Um, but I want to create a second batch, and then I also want to have part of that batch where I can taste it and see what this tastes like. And so, that's tasting it early because the yogurt came right out of the fridge, so it's still going to be cold when I mix these ingredients together. But you don't want yogurt sitting out even while you're preparing these things, and so that's why I've moved somewhat rapidly through this and didn't take my time because I don't want to have um, I don't want to have too much heat on the yogurt. And so I'm going to shake this up, and this will help distribute things a lot better uh, after. almost 4 years of doing this. I'm a pro at it at this point. The shaking technique. So yeah, there we go, man. Look at that. So that is more clumped and less viscous, less liquidy than the other batch. And so when I combine the batches together, it should equalize out, right? So I'm gonna add a little bit more of this coconut water with the chocolate because that's also going to boost the electrolyte component of this mixture. Let's shake it some more because we want this to distribute. And the thing about the cachava is that some of the probiotic cultures in it will also replicate potentially. I mean, that's what I understand. They will potentially replicate in the overall batch, right? And so let's see what the consistency looks like here. Yeah, see that's so we've now increased the viscosity. We've now increased the viscosity, but it's less viscous. It's still less viscous than the other batch, and so when they combine together, it's going to equalize out. So yeah, that's some good stuff right there. Very good stuff. Yeah, see, there's still some room in here, but not much. Not much. So see what that looks like. And then you just combine that together. And so I'm gonna put these two volumes together, but because there's not as much room left in the main yogurt container, then I'm just going to consume what's left in the Contigo flask, right? And so I'm spooning this out like this because I don't want to create more of a mess. And at the same time, you notice I'm also getting more of the chunks. I want to prioritize them. Like I say, this is very organic and very ad hoc. So I wanted to prioritize the chunks because the whole objective here was the chunks, right? It wasn't so much the chocolate. The chocolate is a nice uh, uh, icing on the cake, icing on the vegan cake, right? Icing on the vegan cake with the right type of sugar that is not going to have you go crazy or cause issues um, with the balance of fats and sugars in your body, right? That type of vegan cake. But it's a chocolate vegan cake that's done properly, right? Okay, so but um, the chocolate is a nice enhancement, but at the same time, the chunks is the priority. So that's how I'm carefully split. And notice even with the the careful way that I'm approaching this, it the the container, the yogurt container is still filling up. It's filling up rapidly. So I just have to be careful. So so yeah, and you know this here is a wonderful way for you to boost the colonies of bacteria, what you call that beneficial bacteria, the colonies of beneficial bacteria in your intestines, in your lower intestines. And so this is a very healthy concoction, just yogurt by itself. So even without all this stuff that I did, yogurt by itself is beneficial. Yogurt by itself is beneficial. This just makes it a more enjoyable um, exercise. The Kachava, and it doesn't have to be that brand, but when you have those mixtures of um, probiotic bacteria that they have in these powders like this, when they get in a yogurt culture like this, there's a tendency for them to multiply and expand. And so you get even more of that beneficial impact. So I'm going to use the original seal to seal this up. And then what I want to do on top of that is I want to put this in a Ziploc bag. I use the word Ziploc, you all know. I get my resealable storage bags from Walmart in places like that, right? Where, you know, I can get 20 of them for $1. But um, yeah, so let's see what this looks like with all of that done. So that's the consistency. So I got some very good liquid there, and rather than drink it, I'm actually consume that with just a spoon as if it was a plate of food. So that is my journey with this. Um, I hope that this was enlightening in terms of this experiment. Um, and like I say, the next time I do this, if I do decide to do some filming on this, I'll go a little more deeper. But until then, I will see you later.